everybody! Welcome back to Mari Tutorials. Today we're going to be going over profiles, which is the side view of the face. When I'm drawing a profile view, I like to start off with a circle, and then I just put a single line on one side indicating where I want the side of the face to be. From there I add a jawline a little more than halfway across the circle, and then I put a straight line across where the front of the face meets the circle. This line is typically where the eyes will be, so go ahead and carve out a small triangular area in the dip of the nose where it meets the eyebrow. From there you can start creating the shape of your nose. It's important to note that the nose and the mouth don't sit on the line that you created earlier for the front of the face. That line is mostly just there to give you a guideline of where the front of your face is going to be. From there you can create a more defined jawline. Next up I drew the ear, and when you're drawing the ear, you want to make sure that it starts where the jawline ends. So wherever your jawline is, your ear is always directly above it. So that was a pretty fast sketch, but I am going to draw this about 4 more times, just to go over certain details individually. So again, I started off with my circle. For this one though, I wanted to make her look like she was looking down a little bit more, and the first one she's looking straight ahead. This one, I just put the line a little further down and angled it, and it gives the illusion that she's looking downwards. Then I went ahead and drew my nose. And then for the mouth, you can draw your lips a lot of different ways. I typically end up making them look almost like the number 3, kind of like a long 3 with more angles on it than just the round curves. You can really experiment with the way that you want to draw lips. A lot of people will do just the top lip as a curve and then leave the bottom one pretty flat, or they'll do really big curves to give them really big, luscious lips. You can really play around with it just to see what you like, but for me, mine typically look like a pretty angsty number 3. So like I said earlier, the eyes are going to be placed right on the line, the guideline that you made earlier. And this almost ends up looking like a triangle too. The front part of it is slightly curved, and then on the top and bottom you connect it with 2 lines. And the iris is typically a round shape if you're looking at someone from the front, but from the side it's a really kind of narrow oval instead. And instead of putting your lashes over the entire top and bottom lid, you're only going to focus on the fronts and maybe the sides. I usually just keep mine at the front because it looks a little bit more realistic. And the eyebrow is, of course, right above the eye. Depending on the expression, it could be closer or farther away from the eye itself. But generally, you do want to keep it close to the most outward part of the forehead that you created, because there's a reason they call that the brow bone. So from there, I just erased the extra lines that were in the way, since my face is pretty laid out. And you just start adding the details as you see them. So you could give her smiling lips, a frown, she could have an open mouth. I just give her a pretty neutral expression. As for the neck, it is always at the base of the skull for the back, and the front is somewhere underneath the jawline. Since this girl is looking down, I put the neck a little further up on the jawline than I normally would of someone who is looking straight forward. So that's how I would just draw a very generic profile. Now I'm going to draw 3 more, and I'm kind of going to play around with some of the features, just to show you some of the different things that you can do to give your profiles a little bit more personality so they don't all look the same. So again, I started with the circles and the lines to indicate where the front of the face is going to be. Then I added the horizontal lines to show me where the eyes will be. So far everything's the same, but now this is where you can start to play with the features. So instead of doing a really drastic incline for the nose like my last 2 drawings, for this one I made the lines a lot straighter and a lot more compact. So you can kind of see from the top of the forehead to the very tip of the nose, those lines almost kind of resemble a lightning bolt. That shape made her forehead go in a little bit more and her mouth out a bit more, so she has a really interesting different look than the last 2. For the next one I got a little bit more adventurous and pushed the brow bone past where the guideline is. This gives a really heavy defined brow bone that's typically seen in men. I also put a bump in this nose instead of making it perfectly straight and gave thinner lips. Pairing it off with a very square jawline, it makes this character look a lot more masculine than all the other ones. I'll be defining these a little bit more as we go on. First, I did just one more example to show you. Hopefully by now you've got the rhythm of drawing down a circle and 2 lines for your guide. This one is closer to my style, so it has the sloping nose and bigger lips, kind of like a cartoony style. I'm going to speed things along a little bit just to get the ears down and their necks down. Just things that we already talked about that don't really need to be gone over again. Now that you have the basics down for creating just a general profile, this is where I would invite you to just really experiment with different ways you can play with the features. That includes the features not just on the profile outline, like not just a silhouette line, but the things on the inside too. Like so for the eyes and eyebrows, really subtle changes in these things can give your face a totally different look. So for this head, I gave her eyes kind of like a half-lidded look, and I did that by drawing a lash line right through a whole eye, if that makes any sense. So I drew the eye how I did in the very first drawing, and instead of putting the lashes on top of it, I put the lashes straight through it, and it gives her a half-lidded look. She almost looks bored or disinterested. For the next one, I gave him eyes that were a bit smaller, and for his eyebrows, I put his eyebrow a lot closer to his eye. So the other ones, the eyebrows are not touching the eyes. For this particular head, I made the eyebrow touch the eye, and that makes him look pretty angry. Maybe if you look in a mirror, your eyebrows don't touch your eyes when you're mad, but exaggerating some of these features can give really cool effects to your characters. So I just finished adding a few little details to that dude. And for the last one, like I said, this is a more of a cartoony one, so I wanted to give them a lot bigger eyes. They're more wide open, so I put the lashes at the top of the lash line again instead of drawing it through. I put a little shadow for the lips, and then for this one's eyebrows, I wanted this one to not look as angsty, so I curved them upwards so she looks a little bit more maybe surprised or just neutral. Similarly, if I had curved her lips a little differently, she could be looking happy. And then real quick, there is something about drawing eyes from a profile perspective that I wanted to go over. So not only is keeping the eyelashes in the right spot very important, but something that a lot of people get wrong when they're drawing a profile view is they put the pupil in the wrong spot. So real fast, I'm just going to draw 2 almost identical eyes just to show you the right way and the wrong way to do it. The wrong way is to put the pupil at the very edge of the iris, like this. In theory, that should be correct, but it's actually wrong. Anatomically speaking, the pupil isn't actually at the very edge of your eyeball. It actually sits a little bit inside of it. So the correct way is to put it just in the middle of the iris. It's a super small detail that a lot of people miss, but it makes your drawings look so much more real when it's done correctly. So now you know the wrong way and the right way. And then real fast, one more thing I wanted to go over is drawing hair from the side view. The first thing you want to do is map out where your hairline will be. So it starts on the forehead, a little bit above the eyebrow, and goes down to the ear. The most common mistake that I see people do when they try to do hair for a profile view is they'll try to make it really curved and close to the skull. So you can see on the finished one that I have on the right that it's not just a circle, it's actually kind of flat at the top and then angles out to the back. Make sure to keep the hair a little bit away from the skull. And instead of matching the very round circular shape that you've already drawn, make it flat at the top and then do a small curve in the back. And then I just added a little headband because she looked like she needed one. But the takeaway from this is to not draw the hair plastered to their head. unless your character is soaking wet out of the shower or in the rain, their hair is going to be sticking a little bit out from their head. I'll be going over hair more in a later tutorial, but that's all I have for today. I hope this video helped you learn something, and I wish you the best of luck on your art journey. Thanks for watching!